Hi crafters, it's Sasha from Maker's Loft back again with another cool creation from our Maker's Box range. This is what you're going to find in the box. You're going to find a packet of 4 different sized pom-pom makers. You're going to find some nice sharp pointy scissors and various coloured wool. The first project that we're going to create today is the bunny rabbit. Now for this one we're going to need the largest pom-pom maker and the 2 smallest ones. We're going to start with the bunny's tail. For that one we're going to need the smallest pom-pom maker. Open up the 2 prongs on one side, so the 2 semicircles that match on the one side, and we're going to wind our wool around that semicircle on that side till we've completely filled it. Something like this. And we're going to close that side, open the other side, pull the wool across and wind around the other side. Make sure you don't accidentally go over the flat parts of the pom-pom maker. As you can see, I'm staying within the center. I do try and get it evenly woven or spun around the complete semicircle. Now we close that side. It's time to get your sharp scissors out. Snip the little part of the wool that crosses over where we went from one side to the other, and then we're going to go through the center channel and cut every single strand. Make sure there's no strands remaining, because we're needing to pull a piece of wool across through the center so that if there's any strands remaining, they'll get in the way. Cut yourself a little piece, and we're now going to pull this through that middle channel right into the center. Make sure you pull it right through into the center. Now we're going to do one tight knot. Pull as hard as you can, but without the wool snapping, obviously, so be careful. Sometimes I double the wool so I can pull harder. And then we're going to do a second knot. Once you've pulled this wool really tight, and it's important that we get it tight, we open up these prongs, all 4 of them, and then grab the 2 grey white discs and pull the 2 apart. And then you can grab your little pom-pom, and that's the tail. Now let's put that one aside. You can give it a little trim if there's some hairs sticking out further than they should. You can shape it. Next we're going to grab the largest of the pom-pom makers. Now this one's going to require a little bit of patience, because we need to fill this one just as full as we did with the tail, but it's going to take a lot longer. So again, we're going to open up 2 of the prongs on one side, the 2 matching ones, as you can see here, and we're going to wind all the wool on. I'm going to fast forward this because you will find that this is going to take a long time. With the first half full, we're going to close it, open the other side, pull the wool across, and start winding. Make sure you fill your pom-pom maker quite full with the wool. Otherwise you're not going to get a nice round fluffy pom-pom. Time to cut through that center channel again after you've snipped the little crossover part of the wool. You can also do this later, but I like to do it first. Snip all the way through. Now with the smaller hands, it does require a little bit of muscle here, so if you are having trouble, either do it in smaller sections, or you can maybe ask an adult to help you here. Now we're actually going to use the tail to tie off the body. So we're going to need to squeeze the wool through the center, and you're going to push the tail right in there to get to the center, so that it gets right close to the pin in the center. You're going to have to tie this tightly. If you don't tie this wool tightly, all the fluff of the pom-pom is going to fall out. And make sure that you do a second knot, because one knot is not going to hold. In fact, sometimes I do 3 knots. Now, just to ensure that the pom-pom is tied off really securely, I actually back it up with another piece of wool and tie that center off again. I'm going to get this piece of wool that the knot is going to be just slightly towards, not exactly in the center, but just slightly to the top of the pom-pom. Now this will make sense to you in a minute, but this is where we're going to tie the head of the rabbit. So if we have it too far down, it may look like the tail is sort of up higher than the head is. So try and estimate the position where you'd like the head of the bunny to go, because we're going to use this string to tie the head. So you can sort of see the tail is on one side, the head is going to be on the other side. Pom-pom maker aside, and we'll start making the head now. Open the pom-pom maker up once again. We're going to wind more white wool, because we'll make the head white as well. Again, around the semicircle of one side. Nice and full. Close that side, open the other side, wind your wool onto that side. You know the deal here. You close it, you cut it through the channel, and this is where this one is going to be a little bit different again. Now we're not going to tie this one off with wool, we're going to tie it off with felt. So these are going to be the felt ears. Grab your grey piece of felt that we've provided and cut a strip. Now this strip is going to get folded double, and just at the fold you're going to cut a little bit off each end. Not too narrow that it's going to not hold, but basically we just want to narrow it a little bit so that we can pull it through the center of the pom-pom to tie it off as we would with our piece of wool. And you're actually going to put a knot in this strip of felt and pull it tight into the center of the pom-pom. Now we're also going to tie it off with a piece of wool, because we're going to need this piece of string to tie the head to the body. So we're going to position the knot of the wool on the opposite side to where the ears are, so that we can tie it to the body, and then the ears are going to be at the top of the head. If you were to knot it at the top where the ears are, then you're going to have an upside down head on the body, if you see what I mean. I position the felt strips right over the top of each other because we're now going to shape the ears, and that way you can cut them at exactly the same shape and length. So if you hold those two layers together and shape the ears in one go, you're going to get two similar looking ears as opposed to doing them separately. And you can always still touch them up a little bit. It's now time to attach the head to the body, so you can get that body and tail pom-pom out of its pom-pom maker. And we're going to find the piece of string that we place on the opposite end to where the tail is, and we're going to use that string and the string that we used on the opposite end of the ears to tie together. So we're going to knot those two. Now the first knot will be a little bit loose, but the second one will ensure that it's nice and tight, and then again I might even do a third knot on top so that it won't come undone. And now it's time to trim and make your bunny look beautiful. Time for some grooming. Now be careful to not cut too much because this hair won't grow back. We're now going to bring the bunny to life by gluing on some little googly eyes. I think it's missing its whiskers. Let's use a piece of black wool, just a short piece, enough to get a knot into the center of it. You can always trim it later, so it needs to be manageable to place a knot in the center. And we're then going to untwist the ply. So in most cases there might be 3 individual pieces of yarn that have been twisted together to create the wool thickness, and you're going to untwist them so that they become 3 individual strands. Apply a little dollop of glue right on the knot, and that should be enough to just hold the center of the whiskers on the nose. And then I think we're going to add just a tiny little pink triangle for the nose. And now it's time to create a little friend for our bunny. Now it's completely up to you what size you'd like to make this little chick, but I've chosen one of the medium-sized pom-pom makers. We're going to start off with a little piece of orange. Now this is going to be the comb of the chick. So we put that on there first, in the center. You don't need a whole lot, it's just for the comb at the top of the head. Just snip that short. Now we're going to get our yellow wool for the chick and we're going to wind that over the top of the orange wool. So we're actually going to hide it completely. It's hard to sort of hold that first piece, but once you wind over it a couple of times it will hold itself. Now we're also going to add a tiny little bit of black, just a few winds around that side. I would say maybe 4 or 5 times. These are going to be the eyelashes for the eyes. Now you'll see later when we finish how the black, because we didn't do it at the core, at the center of the pom-pom maker, but just a little bit further out, the black dots will appear separately on either side of the pom-pom. So keep on winding your yellow over the top until your pom-pom maker is completely full on that one side. So this is on the first side still, we haven't done the other side yet. So we've done the comb and the eyes, or the eyelashes I should say, on the one half. The other half is going to be completely yellow. There's going to be no other color added on. So once that side is full, we're going to close it, open the other half, wind the yellow onto the other side. Now we close the pom-pom maker and it's time for the big reveal. We're going to snip through the center of the pom-pom maker as we have done all the other times before as well, and you will soon see how the colors appear the way they've been wound on. Now you can create all kinds of patterns by pre-thinking how they're going to appear once they're wound on and then cut open. So we're going to tie the pom-pom off with a piece of wool straight through the center. Now in this case I'm going to have the wool, the excess wool, come out the top where the comb is, in case you might like to hang it, so that way it's hanging from the top of its head rather than upside down, but you can also chop off the excess wool. Now we open our pom-pom maker, 2 sides, and then open the disc, and you have got your base design for the little chick. So you can see the orange comb at the top and then the 2 black dots that will become the eyelashes for the eyes. With the trimming, I always like the comb to stick out from the yellow a little bit higher, so I actually trim the yellow a little bit shorter. So what I do, I try and hold on to all the orange strands and trim the yellow around it so that the orange pops up a little bit higher than the yellow. but I'm going to let you sort of play with this. That's just a tip that I've got as to how you can do that. As well. I actually trim a little bit more around the eyes as well, and just the front of the head. Now I'm going to get my orange felt to create a beak. So I'm going to cut the orange felt into a little triangle. And again, if you're not happy with the shape once it's glued on, you can always do a little bit more trimming. Sometimes it's hard to get that shape right. Now I open up a little bit of the wool so that I can stick the glue in between the wool closer to the center of the pom-pom. And again, once that beak is in there and there's too much wool sticking over the top, you can trim those strands of wool. So you just sort of have to find the right position to make the beak look like it's in its appropriate spot. Now put the glue on the edge of the beak, and then I'm going to push that edge into the center of the pom-pom. Now you can continue doing some more trimming until you're happy with how the little guy looks. Now we can get some felt to add at the bottom for feet. So we fold our felt double so that you get two sides that look identical, and you create a shape that resembles the feet of a little chick. We put plenty of glue on the feet, and then we simply place the pom-pom on top and leave it to dry for a little while. And there you have them, two happy Easter friends. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Please leave us any feedback, and if you want to check out some more of our makers boxes, they're on our website.